What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Phil Risden back here to talk about some important issues. A lot of you guys have noticed that I've been posting a lot this week. It's because mad shit is happening, and I can't wait till Monday or Friday to talk about this shit, man. Whoopi Goldberg is suspended from The View. Let's talk about it. I wanna know, like, if you guys don't really know the story, I feel like it's blowing up now, and I felt like I almost couldn't like wait to speak on it anymore. It's kind of blowing up now. But if you guys don't know the whole story, Whoopi Goldberg, who is a host on The View with a bunch of other women on there, a couple different comedians and stuff like that, influencer people. It's a cool show. Like a lot of moms in the midday watching and stuff like that. We all know The View. I don't know why I'm explaining The View. But on The View, they did a segment about how the graphic novel Mouse by Art Spiegelman, which is a classic graphic novel. I believe it's won a number of awards. I won't speak to the different awards because I didn't read up that much on it, but I've read the book like a bunch of times and stuff, and I've even read Mouse 2 and stuff. And it's about the Holocaust. It's a very heavy-handed metaphor for the Holocaust. I mean, it's the exact same, except Nazis are cats and Jewish people or other people in concentration camps are mice. And that is basically all that it is, and it shows the life of one person kind of writing about his family's past in the Holocaust. And it's a very interesting book. I think it's really good. It's interesting, I think, and it's good for a lot of people because you can attribute the metaphor of cats and mice to any form of oppression. So even if you're only reading it about the Holocaust, you can bring it to whatever is happening in your life, whether if you're black, you're gay, you're Muslim, like anything, like literally just like anything. You're a woman or whatever. You can attribute it to all that stuff. Where the controversy happened initially was they were doing a segment about how Mouse had been banned in schools in Tennessee for whatever reason. Just they don't even want to learn about critical race theory or segregation. So it's no surprise to me that they don't actually want to speak about the Holocaust or any sort of discrimination either. Why do I want my white kids to feel bad? Bullshit like that. But where the controversy really occurred was when Whoopi Goldberg said that she was like, that's kind of crazy that they don't want to have this thing in because supposedly it's about race, when the Holocaust wasn't about race. It was about inhumanities. It's about man's inhumanity toward man. And people had a big problem with that, saying that Jewish people are a race and this, that, and the third, and her rhetoric is ignorant and this, that, and the third. And listen, you got to understand too where she's coming from. First off, I will say this: I don't think she's wrong. I don't necessarily think she's wrong. I mean, maybe could she have said it in like a better way? Sure, but I don't think she's wrong, and I don't think she had any malice in her heart towards any Jewish people when she was saying that. I think what happened was, Whoopi Goldberg is from kind of a different time, and it's funny, we always use that explanation or problem when somebody is being discriminatory or someone's being shitty and evil. But Whoopi Goldberg is somebody who's trying to actually like unite people in the same sense of like, no, it's about bad people doing things to people, just oppressing people. And now, if you say she's from a different time, everybody's like, oh, we're going to use that excuse. But yeah, we will. She's from a different time, especially in America, man, where it's like, for her, I think the real problem is, for her, race really means something. And that doesn't mean that like racism means something now, but it really did mean something. She's an older woman. She knows about times where there used to be, segregated places for people to go and shit like that, like when she was a little girl and stuff. She remembers that stuff, and I think a lot of people need to realize that, like, yes, I guess technically like Jews are a race of people or whatever, but it's more, the world sees it more as a religion. That doesn't mean that whatever has happened to them for generations, for hundreds of years in different civilizations, hasn't been discriminatory. That doesn't mean any shit like that. It just means that, like, most people, when they think race, they think of things you can see. Okay? And I think that's what Whoopi Goldberg is talking about. Whoopi Goldberg is a dark-skinned black woman. Okay? So when you're talking race, She's talking about being able to walk down the street and people know exactly who the fuck you are and why they don't like you. Whatever rhetoric their family and their parents have told them is why they don't like you. That's what she's talking about when she means race. And when she, when she sees the Holocaust, she sees white people going after other white people, a different religion of white people, which is a fact. That is a fact within itself. It just is what it is. I mean, like, what, like, in America, people used to hate the Irish and like hate Italians and shit like that. I wouldn't call that racism either. So that's the whole thing, where it's like, yeah, these are just different factions of white people, kind of oppressing one faction of white people, and others too. They did it to Romani or Gypsies or whatever, if you want to call them that. They did it to Catholics and shit, but mainly Jews. And that's, I think, where the big disconnect goes. And I think this is kind of a symptom of a larger issue as well too. I think a lot of black people, yeah, when they talk race, dude, they talk about skin color, things that you can't hide. That's what race is. I think race is, number one, is a construct, but in this constructed thing we have in our society, that's what most people see race is, dude. At the end of the day, that's really what it is. Race is something that you cannot hide. Okay, and I think that's why a lot of black people especially have had all these problems with other minorities who can pass a little bit better than themselves. You know what I mean? Or like other groups of people, like gays, or like people who are trans, like anyone in the LGBT community. That's why there's been a little bit of that disconnect, because it's like, oh, I can fuck with the fact that you guys are being persecuted, but I don't sympathize for your white LGBT counterparts who are being, persecuted as well. Because at the end of the day, they could just be gay in the background and they wouldn't face as much persecution. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, they can just pretend they have a wife or pretend they're cisgender, go home, close the curtains, and everything can change. But me, I can't go home, close the curtains, and be black. I'm black 24/7. This is something that I have to deal with 24/7. So don't tell me that your plight is just as bad as my plight. Especially when, in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, you were doing that. You were all closeted, and we were getting beaten in the street, and you did nothing to help. Even though you're saying that you were so downtrodden and you were so oppressed, you did nothing to help us. We were sitting there begging and pleading for any of this. There's been gays since the fucking slavery, and did any of them, cut anybody's chains? Hell no. It's because you couldn't see it. You couldn't see their difference, so they could hide when things were dangerous. Now when things get nicer, they can come out and be like, well, I am this, and you guys should, adhere to this. And I think that's what Whoopi Goldberg is kind of speaking to, even with Judaism too, where it's like, yeah, I mean, like, this shit's fucked up. It's sad. They, there's a reason they had to label Jews with stars and fucking numbers and shit, because if they didn't have that and you didn't know their lineage, you couldn't tell that they were Jewish. They might just be fucking Italian. You know what I mean? And, it's a fucked up, thing to deal with. It's a fucked up thing that Germans as a whole would even do that to other people, or that, different cultures throughout history have done that to the Jews, persecuted them for complete shitty things. And I'm not saying that any of that's right, but I'm saying that's the disconnect that I think she has with that. And I don't know if she's totally necessarily wrong, because she's not taking away what's been done. She's not taking away the awful shit that's been done. She's just trying to illustrate, I think, the difference in race in this country, especially. You know what I mean? I mean, when there were fucking signs that said whites only, most of them didn't say no Jews also. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure, the Bugsy Siegels of the world got to hang out with fucking Lucky Luciano. You know what I mean? They were let into the same bars, the same nightclubs and everything. They were white, and they were exempt from certain things. So as far as black people in America see it, the Holocaust was white people harming other white people, and that's it. It may be wrong. I may be wrong, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. And no matter what, I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that treating people with such inhumanity as a whole is wrong anyway, no matter how you see it. So, shout out to Whoopi Goldberg for, talking how she's talking, because I think it was kind of cool too, because like, she said that on The View and then was on Colbert to apologize, and she kind of doubled down. And I have to be a little bit proud of her for fucking doubling down on that, because they wanted to just bend her over and just be like, you do what we say. And no, she isn't, So, good for you. Stick to your guns. As long as you're not demonizing any Jewish people, stick to your guns. I think no one's disagreeing about whether or not the Holocaust was bad. They're just talking about what race is, especially in America. And I think race is a very, very real thing here. It's probably the most real here. So when a black woman speaks on it, I think we should all listen. That being said, if you disagree with me, let it out in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And love you guys. Let's start a conversation about it. Let's get crazy. All right. Peace.